Exodus 23. Okay, now we jump from the frying pan into the fire here on this one. So verses 1 to 9. Now you shall not circulate a false report. Do not agree with the wicked man to be an unrighteous witness. You shall not follow a crowd to do evil, nor join with them so as to turn aside with the majority to pervert justice. You shall not show partiality to a poor man in his dispute. If you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall surely bring it back to him. If you see your enemy's donkey fallen beneath its load, you shall not walk away from it, but shall surely help him with it. You shall not pervert the judgment of your poor in his dispute. Keep yourself far from every unjust matter. Do not kill the innocent and the righteous. Do not justify the wicked for his gifts. You shall take no bribe, for a bribe blinds the eyes and corrupts pronouncements. And you shall not oppress a resident alien, for you know the heart of the resident alien, because you were resident aliens in the land of Egypt. So there's a lot in here, and it says, don't persecute the innocent along with the righteous. Okay. When the U.S. government, they don't want to send pilots in because they get shot down. So what they'll do is they'll send in a drone that take out the bad guy, and the bad guy will be attending a wedding or a party or a funeral or something, and they'll send the drone in. Somebody's operating it, remote control like a video game, and it sends the bomb in, blows up. The bad guy gets killed, and 20 other people die. They say, well, that was just collateral damage. That's the way the government refers to it. It's collateral. We got the bad guy we're after. Unfortunately, there's all these other innocent people that happen to die too as a result of what we did. God says, no, I'm not interested in that. I don't want that. No collateral damage here. Don't persecute the innocent along with the righteous. If somebody's bad, don't paint it with the broad brush and go after everybody. And this is a problem here, I think, in what's going on in society right now. God's concerned with each individual, not as classes or large groups of people. It says in Ezekiel 18, if you're righteous and your father, it's reversed. Basically, if you have a righteous father and a wicked son and a righteous grandson, so God's going to go after the son. He's going to let the father and the grandson alone. He's taking out the son. All right. That's God's attitude. He's going to go after the individuals who are guilty. The whole family's not guilty for the sin. So God's going to judge us individually, not on the basis of a class. I mean, one of the things that I'm noticing in the news is everybody's being treated as a part of a class. Okay, what class are you? You're in. Oh, I'm in the worst possible class. I'm the white male Christian, whatever. It's middle class American. That's like the worst class. I have no respect. I have no right to talk about anything because I'm the ultimate oppressor class. So because I'm treated as you're part of this class, you're not an individual. So what you say is of less concern. God, the Bible says God doesn't look at the outward appearance. Lord looks at the heart. He doesn't care. He really does. People will judge you superficially on the basis of your skin color, on the basis of your wealth or where you live. God doesn't care. He says, Lord looks at the heart. David was an impressive guy on the outside. The Lord, man looks at the outward appearance, always been the case, still is today. Lord looks at the heart. So he looks at the individual, and he doesn't want to punish the guilty with the individual. Okay. This is great newsflash. Every white person in the United States is not a racist. Okay. I know lots of them who are not racists. And I know plenty of racists too. And I had some racists I had some racists going back generations in my family. No slaveholders, but I'd hear things that people would say. It's just the way they were brought up. Nobody taught them any better than that. But I've known not all white people are racist. Not all black people are racist either. The whole idea that everybody in the country is a racist based on their class is total nonsense. It's just not true. Racism is a sin. It's discrimination. It's treating one person different than somebody else just based on an outward appearance. And not everybody does that. Some people do. I'm not saying there's no racism, but it's not, everybody's not guilty of that particular sin. Not every white person is a racist. Not every black person is a racist. Not every policeman is a brutal thug. All right. I know policemen who are really nice people, but it doesn't say the opposite either. There are policemen who are abusive, who are racist or sadistic, whatever. You know, it draws all kinds of people into that category. So you got to be careful about lumping together the innocent with the guilty. And lumping together, God says, don't persecute the innocent and the righteous with the wicked. This is a principle. Take out the bad guys, not everybody. Okay. And then another one, and this struck me as really unusual. He says, don't show favoritism toward the poor, nor take bribes. I'm thinking, wait, I can see if it says don't show favoritism towards the rich. Why does it say don't show favoritism toward the poor? Why would anybody show favoritism towards the poor person in a dispute? It's something in a dispute. So the picture here is you get a rich person and a poor person, and they have a dispute with each other. And, you know, people say, well, if I help the rich guy out, maybe he'll help me back. Okay, maybe he can do something for me. But he says, don't take the side of the poor person either. It says, why would somebody do that? Well, I don't know. I don't know. I got a couple of possibilities why somebody would take the side of a poor person. Maybe the judge, the person doing the judging, maybe they resent the rich. Okay. It could either be because they covet what the rich person has that they don't, or it could be that they have been badly treated by rich people or some rich person in the past, and they're glomming that on to the rich person in dispute. Or it could also be that somebody say there are a lot more poor people than rich people. That's always been the case. Okay. So somebody could say, well, there's a poor guy and a rich guy. I'm a poor guy. Okay. I relate more to poor people than I do to rich people. So I'm going to naturally side with the guy who's more like me. Okay. So, you know, the idea is that the poor will discriminate with the poor, or people will discriminate towards somebody who's more like them. He says, no, you don't do that. You don't discriminate on the basis on the don't show favoritism to the poor, nor take bribes. So whatever the reason for doing that is, God's desire is, if there's a conflict between a rich person and a poor person, who's telling the truth? What's justice? Not who is the member of the oppressed class, but who's telling the truth, who's justice, who's right, who's wrong. That should be the only basis. You know, the statue of justice that they have, it's holding the scales, and what's over the eyes of the justice? It's supposed to be a blinder, you know, no peeking through the eye there. Justice is supposed to be blind. It's supposed to be blind to color. It's supposed to be blind to class. It's supposed to be blind to everything. That's the way justice is supposed to be, because that's God's attitude. He says, don't show favoritism on the basis of something like that. Now, all right, this is all, unfortunately, terribly relevant to what's going on in the world today. And it's not that I'm trying to steer the sermon in this direction, but I'm thinking, okay, and any of these, figuring what's he talking about, and what's the application for us today? What's the application? Okay, the big debate in society right now, and may be going on for a long time, or may disappear like a virus. I don't know. So the big debate is Black Lives Matter. Right? That's the hot issue. Anybody who doesn't agree with, you know, the Black Lives Matter, it was as everybody knows here, horrible injustice was done. White policeman in Minneapolis was basically killed a black suspect criminal in the commission of a relatively minor crime in Minneapolis earlier this year. And everybody I have talked to on any side agrees this was horrible, this is wrong, there's no justification for it, and the policeman must be brought to justice. Everybody agrees on that, okay? But that's not, but the story goes way beyond that. The question goes on, okay, are all whites racist? Is this a racist society? Are most of the problems in the Black community related to racism? Are the police unfairly racist. These are a bunch of questions that are raised, and people will have different opinions of that about that, which is fine. The problem is anybody who doesn't go along with one side is demonized basically as you're a racist. If you're white and you disagree, you're racist. If and you have no authority to speak. If you're black, you disagree, you're an Uncle Tom. So basically, it's hard to have an intelligent discussion about other aspects of this beyond what everybody agrees with. And part of the problem is that, okay, I'm listening to some of the things that the Black Lives Matter as a group is putting out, and most of the, what I'm picking up is there from my son's friends, a lot of young black men are really afraid. They're genuinely afraid. They're afraid of violence being done to them. They are worried. They're scared. Genuine fear. Okay. So that I know for sure. And a lot of the people are being swept up into Black Lives Matter because out of sympathy for the injustice that was done and other injustices that have been done. Okay, as I'm listening to the things that are putting out by the leader of Black Lives Matter, I thought, wow, I'm of 40 years. When I was in college, this is before really dating myself here, early 70s, in college, hotbed of all kinds of political activity out there. And so I was in my 20s, early 20s, and I was anti-war back then. Okay, I don't think I was a total pacifist at that time, but I was really anti-war. I was against the Vietnam War. I wouldn't go regardless. I mean, they put me in jail or like something. I wasn't going to go. I was totally against the war. And they would have demonstrations on the campus, and so I was very sympathetic to the anti-war movement. Moved into a kind of a vegetarian communal type alternative living structure with like 50 people. We lived semi-communally. We'd all eat together. We'd all bake bread together. So I was interested in tight community even back then years ago. So, but one of the things I learned, I was not a socialist. I was not a Marxist at all. I was studying engineering. Most of the people I was hanging around with were studying a lot of things, not as far away as you get from engineering as possible. So I was hanging around with these people, and I realized they're anti-war, but they're also a lot more than anti-war. They're also Marxists. So I was they're studying Marxism. They're pushing Marxism. And so I said, I'm anti-war like they are, and I like to eat the same vegetarian food that they do, but I'm not a socialist. I'm totally not. I think that's a horrible thing. So what would happen is a lot of my friends would be organizing the political anti-war demonstrations. Most of the people who came out to the anti-war demonstrations were just against the Vietnam War, and that's about as far as it went. But a lot of the organizers, they saw, the Vietnam War is an opportunity for us to advance a Marxist agenda. And so people would say, all the anti-war people are Marxists, which was totally not true. Most of them were not at all. But the people who are leading the group were, and what they would do at the rallies, they'd say, okay, now we're all here. They say a bunch of stuff. Everybody would agree with anti-war. And they say, by the way, while we're on the subject of oppression, let's also talk about A, B, C, D, E, things that had nothing to do with the war, but were all part of an agenda that they're trying to push, which is capitalism is the problem here because that's the source of all the wars, and there's oppression of women and things like that. So there's a whole agenda. Now, I live with these people, so I argued with them too, but I live with these people. I knew what they thought. I knew what they read. I argued with them. And I said, well, we'll agree. I agree with you on this. Okay, I'm anti-war, but I'm not buying into the whole Marxist thing. So I'm listening to Black Lives Matter and saying, wait a minute, boy, does this sound a lot like the stuff I used to hear. So I went on to the Black Lives Matter site. I thought, I'm not just going to listen to I'm not going to ask Fox News what these guys are. So I went on the site and read it and said, what are they pushing? And I thought, wow, this is quite eye-opening. There's way more to it than concern for the situation of the blacks. They said, it's Marxism basically. I'm not saying this is a smear. I'm just saying that's the philosophy that's behind it, and it's pushing LGBTQ ideology. It's anti fatherhood and anti-male leadership of the family. It's anti-nuclear family right on their agenda. They're massively pro-abortion. So there's a whole agenda that the group Black Lives, that the leadership of Black Lives Matter supporting, don't believe anything I tell you, okay? Go back and research this. Take a look at the 3 founders of the group that are involved with the group now. Find out what do they believe, what are they pushing, read on their agenda. So this is a Marxist organization. And, you know, I don't know where this is all going. Well, I look, you know, when I check the news, I'm trying to think, okay, is what's going on in Seattle? Am I reading Les Mis right now? Am I reading, is this, you know, is this is like barricading off part of the city and pushing everybody out, the red and black flags? You know, what's going on here? Where is this all headed? I don't know. I think I know where some people want it to go. In the Vietnam War, although there were some of the people who were trying to steer the ship into the direction of Marxism, they totally failed. There was a broad-based anti-war movement, and I think good came out of it, which was the end of the Vietnam War. And my hope is that good comes out of this is an awareness of the problems with racism, but Marxism, destruction of capitalism, massive abortion, and you know, destruction of gender roles is not that. I mean, that's the agenda of Satan right there. I mean, that's and the Bible says in Ephesians 6, our battle is not against flesh and blood, it's against the rulers in the spiritual realm, in the dark places. This is against the dominion of darkness. So there's a dark agenda that's being pushed in the country right now. I think, you know, I'm very sympathetic to a lot of the concerns of people with civil rights and the fear that people are feeling, and the problems we need to deal with here. But you know, Jesus says that be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. He says, I'm sending you out as sheep among wolves. Okay, this is a wolf-infested territory that we are in. All right, this is not the Martin Luther King civil rights movement of the 1960s. This is a different animal altogether. So I would encourage you, be wise, be discerning, do the homework. Don't believe anything I tell you. Go back and read, go back and find out what different people are into and what agendas they're pushing. And we need to be not only innocent, but wise to what's around us. And don't buy into this treating people on the basis of classes. If it's a dispute between a rich guy and a poor guy, or a black guy and a white guy, who's telling the truth? Who's right? Who's wrong? That's the issue. And don't ever persecute the innocent with the guilty. The guilty need to be punished, but not everybody.